population of Turtle Island in 1491 was somewhere between 26 and 30 million people. Then, in 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Between 1776 and 1887, over 1.5 billion acres was seized from the indigenous peoples of Turtle Island by the United States government. And by the turn of the 20th century, only an estimated 237,000 natives of Turtle Island remain. Today, we acknowledge the land that we currently identify as Campbell County to be the traditional and ancestral hunting grounds of the Absolute, the Sutai and Susistas, the Oceti-Sakoan, the Numakiki, the Haraka, the Sanish, and the Hananahe. Today, we pay respects to all the elders, past and present, and we choose to honor and acknowledge the original keepers of this land in hopes of building mutual respect and understanding across all cultures who reside and pass through here now and in the future. It is our hope, by hosting programming like this today, we can foster a mutual understanding across all cultures that will produce stronger and vital civic interactions among all citizens of the greater Powder River Basin. The Campbell County Rockpile Museum is honored to be hosting Whitney Rencountre II and Jessie taking Alive-Rencountre. Whitney Rencountre II is from the Crow Creek.
In 1851, the area here, starting from the east bank of the Missouri River right down central South Dakota, all the way down to the North Platte River, down into Nebraska and over to the Bighorn Mountains and back up through the Cannonball River in North Dakota, this land was given and protected by the federal government to our people, to the Northern Plains tribes that lived here, to hunt the buffalo. At one time, there was 30 to 60 million buffalo that lived here. Some of the early settlers said when they came across the first buffalo herd, they had to wait 8 days for one buffalo herd to pass before they could continue. How many of you can wait 3 seconds at a stoplight?
With a stoplight.
that was the original stoplight. You could hear the thunder. You could feel it below your feet when 80,000 buffalo went running by. I mean, you had to stay for 8 days. So our warriors, our men, the young boys, they were the ones that would go hunt the buffalo, because sometimes you wouldn't make it back alive. So when we hunted the buffalo, brought them back, the mothers, the grandmothers, they would teach our babies how to take the hides, and you would use the hump of the area, the back there, the buffalo, and the tendon area. That's how you would make to sew them together, that make thread. And so 15 buffalo hides would make one teepee. You could also use the hides to make clothing. You can use them for a lot of different things. But one of my favorite things to use the hide for is to make a drum. And this is a drum. This isn't made out of buffalo, but this is made out of elk. This is an elk hide drum. You take the hide, you scrape it, and you soak it, and you wrap it around this wood cylinder. There was a young boy long ago that during times of difficulty, he went hunting, and he went to sleep, and he took a nap while he was hunting. And in his dream, he came up with this idea. This animal told him to use the hide and to use the wood and to make it into a drum, because when the baby's in the mother's womb, you can hear the heartbeat of the mother. And so when the babies come out, you can hear this sound. And so this was the first sound. So this represents the heartbeat. And so that's why the babies, they really like to hear that sound. But most people in America, kind of not so comfortable with that sound. And my grandfather, he used to blame John Wayne. Because my grandfather, he loved watching the old John Wayne movies. He would sit there and he'd watch them all the time, and he knew what characters. But every now and then you heard that sound. And one day I was watching with Grandpa. I said, "Grandpa, what's that sound?" And my grandfather said, "That means the Indians are coming." I said, "Well, Grandpa, who's the Indians?" And he said, and I was just a little boy, so I didn't really know. But he said when Columbus came to America, he thought he landed on the West Indies, down on the Caribbean islands. And so that's where they came up with the term the American Indians. And so that's why there's always the cowboys and the Indians a long time ago. And so that's kind of where some of the historical references go to the songs and the drum, and historically, that's why we don't even think about it. If you go to a powwow or you go to a place where there's a lot of dancers, you're not so comfortable if you've never really learned about it. But when you learn about it, you realize that it's actually kind of a fun part of our culture. Our children, others, they really enjoy dancing. And we just had a family in here before you that came to the Cheyenne Frontier Days. When one of the little girls was there, she's an adult today. The grandmother said that she just ran out and started dancing with the Indian dancers, and she was a little girl. So, when we take away all of what we teach our children, and when they just kind of experience things for themselves, they realize, you realize your intuition shares with you what this drum really actually represents, the heartbeat. It brings people together. And so that's what we hope to share with you today. Share with you a jingle dress song, because we have so many kiddos here. We want to share with you a dance. This is a jingle dress dance, and my wife will talk a little more about it. But we're going to ask Mila to share with you guys a dance. So let's give Mila a warm welcome. Let's give her a round of applause.
So we chose to make our home in Rapid City in the Black Hills after we graduated college, because not only is it beautiful in the Black Hills, but there's a lot of history and stories from our people about the Black Hills. In fact, we say that the Black Hills, we say it's the heart of everything that is. And so if you ever take a look at the Black Hills from a satellite image, it looks like a human heart. Not Valentine Cupid heart, but the human heart. Now, it's a very beautiful thing to see if you see that, but there's a lot of stories that come from the Black Hills, from our people for centuries and centuries. One of the biggest stories that comes into the Black Hills is our creation story. Now, every culture all around the world, they all have their own creation stories, just like our Lakota people. They say the shortened version of the story says that many, many years ago, generations ago, our people actually used to live way inside Grandmother Earth, and that 4 Lakota couples were tricked into coming out of Mother Earth through a cave. And when they got out here, they were originally told that there was beautiful homes waiting for them, clothing, and a plentiful of bounty of food ready and waiting for them. When they got out here, there was nothing. They didn't know how to survive out here. They could not go back in. They could not find their way back in through that cave. And so they were forced to live out here, but lucky for them, somebody came along and told them, hey, as long as you are here, as long as we are here, your Lakota people will be here as well. We will take care of you and provide you with food, clothing, and shelter. From that day, we took them as our relatives, and we still call them our big brothers today, our big sisters today. And who I'm referring to is the Buffalo Nation. You know, the Buffalo have taken care of our people for many, many generations, providing that food, clothing, and shelter. Now, I'm talking about a cave. Now, there's a lot of different caves there in the Black Hills, but the specific cave that our creation story takes place at is actually Wayne's Cave. Many of you may have heard of Wind Cave, and some of you may have actually been to Wind Cave. If you ever get a chance to go on a tour through Wind Cave, you might hear, I think recently they started talking a little bit about how it is a Lakota creation story, that this is the cave that we came out of, we emerged out of. And so, you know, they have actually explored over 100 miles of this cave, and still to this date, they have not found an end to this cave. As Lakota people, we kind of laugh and say, you know what, they might not ever find an end to that cave just because of, you know, the creation story that has been passed down for many years. And so for us, we have 7 sacred areas in the Black Hills. Wind Cave is one of those sacred areas. You know, long ago, our Lakota people, they never used to just live in the Black Hills. They lived around the areas because the Black Hills, they said, is so sacred, so beautiful, so sacred. They would only come to the Black Hills to conduct the ceremonies at those 7 areas. Depending on what time of the year it was and where the stars were located up in the sky, that's when they would come to the Black Hills. And there was always an alignment. And so one part of the year, they would go to what we know as today as Devil's Tower, or Mapotihila, what we call it. And so depending on what was above the sky, right above Devil's Tower, that's when they would come and conduct a ceremony there. We'd go to what we know now as Black Elk Peak, formerly known as Harney Peak. It's the second one. Bear Butte is another one. Again, like I said, Wind Cave. We also have Buffalo Gap. And I know there's a lot more that I'm missing right now, but that's okay. So we have 7 of them. And so that's why, you know, the Black Hills is a very beautiful place for Lakota people. And, you know, a lot of people come as tourists from all over, not only just the United States, but also all over the world, and they talk about how beautiful it is, but also I think, you know, and many of our Lakota people believe that they come and they're drawn there because of that sacredness, that energy that's there in the Black Hills. So we're going to switch gears, and you know, my favorite style of dance then is the third style of dance is actually the jingle dress. Now, the jingle dress actually is not a Lakota style of dance. It originates from our neighboring tribes up to the northeast. We know them as the Anishinaabe. You've probably heard of them as the Ojibwe people. Today, they're people, they live up in Minnesota, up in Canada, Wisconsin, and even all the way over into Michigan. Now, there's slightly different versions on how this dress came to their people. I like to share the version that was shared with me from my good friend, who's an Ojibwe jingle dress dancer. This actually comes from her family. So her great-grandmother, many years ago, but almost 101 years ago, there was a little girl by the name of Maggie. Now Maggie was very loved by her family. One day she got very sick, and it was an illness, a sickness that their tribe had not seen before. Nobody knew what types of natural medicines to make her, to help heal her. Now, her grandfather was a very prayerful man. He went off and he prayed, and he asked Creator to take pity on his granddaughter. He wanted her to live a long life. When he got home, he was given a dream that night, and in this dream, he was shown a dress. He was told that if his family were to make a dress with objects hanging off of it, and Maggie were to dance in it, these objects on this dress, they would hit together when she was dancing, and they would make that very beautiful sound, and it would bring healing to Maggie. When he awoke, he shared this dream with his family, and they made the dress as quickly as they could. Now Maggie, they took her to their ceremonial houses up there in Ojibwe country. She was so ill that she was very weak. She could barely stand on her own. And so her family members, they said that they stood on each side of her, holding her up by her arms. As the song started, they helped Maggie dance. As the song progressed and it went on, you know, Maggie became stronger and stronger, and soon she started dancing on her own. By the time that evening came, they said that Maggie was healed. And so from that day, this dress has been called the medicine dress, or the healing dress. Now, Maggie went on to live a long life. She actually just passed away in the early 1990s. But when she was first healed as a little girl, that story of how she was healed, it traveled like wildfire all across the United States and up into Canada amongst the hundreds of different tribes. And many of our tribes, we adopted this style of dance and this dress into our own tribe, including us Lakota. We use it at powwows today, and a lot of people would ask, now if this is a healing dress and you know that it's meant for healing, why are you guys using this at powwows? But even the Ojibwe also use this at powwows today as well too. They will say, you know, it doesn't matter where you're at. When a young girl or a woman puts on this dress and she dances, whether it be at a powwow, Ojibwe jingle dress ceremony, or even like a presentation like today. Healing energy still comes from this dress because of the origin and how it came through a dream. And so those of us who are honored to wear the style dress, even though we compete in these dresses at powwows against other dancers, we still remember the purpose and the origin of this dress. So we carry ourselves in a good way, especially when we're dancing, and make sure we have good thoughts, because healing energy is coming from this dress and going out to someone, whoever it's meant to reach today. So we're going to share the first song I'm going to be dancing to is what we call the contemporary style of dance. So this is an opportunity for us as jingle dress dancers to express ourselves with our different footwork and movement. And then the second song I'm going to be sharing with you is the very first original style of dance that Maggie danced to many years ago that brought healing to her and eventually to other people that would dance when she would dance. And so I'm going to be dancing the contemporary style of dance. People ask why we use a fan and when we dance and why we carry it or even raise it in the air. And so the reason why we raise our fan up in the air as contemporary jingle dress dancers is for two reasons. One, there's that spirit inside that drum we like to honor, because without that spirit, we can't have our dances and our songs and our ceremonies and such. The second reason is we are recognizing and remembering the origin of this dress. That it's a healing dress first, and that healing energy comes from it. And so when we're dancing, we ask this fan to help spread the energy out to whoever it's meant to reach you today. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Mila to dance with me for maybe one song, possibly two, if she's up to it. So, the jingle dress.
This next song is the Jingle Dress Sidestep, and this was the original when the Jingle Dress started, the societies over there in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Canada. This is the original dance that they did, the Jingle Dress Sidestep. All right, we're going to share something within each and every one of you at this time. Those of you that are able to, we're going to ask that you come and make a circle with my wife and my daughter. Just make a circle, oblong, I guess, oval circle. Make a big circle inside the center here. We're going to share something to kind of close out our presentation today. Close up the circles here. All right, so everybody, this is what we call a round dance, and everybody's going to step to the left. It's very simple. You do not need any experience. All you got to do is step to the left to the drum beat. So step to the left. And I'm going to turn it on over to my wife for some closing remarks.
All right. So we always like to end in a circle, and I'll share with you why we like to end in a circle. In our Lakota language, we have a very beautiful phrase that we say in our language. It's so beautiful, yet so simple. We put it at the end of our prayers, or we even use it as a prayer all by itself. What we say in our language is Midakuye Owase. Can you guys try to say that? Midakuye Owase. Yes, and what that means is we're all related, we're all connected, and we're all family. Because we believe that there's one creator that created everything in this world and in this universe that is living. It never matters the color of our skin, the language we speak, or where we even live in this world, because we all come from that same place, and that makes us relatives, that makes us connected. There's a prophecy made many years ago by an older Lakota man, and he says, our sacred hoop of life is broken, and that's why our world is the way it is, the things that are happening, the crime, the fighting, the wars. He says, but one day, he says, there's going to be people that come together in a circle with different cultural backgrounds, different beliefs, different colors of skin. And he says, they'll stand together as one in a circle. And when this happens, this sacred hoop of life will start to begin to mend again. And so this is why we end in this circle, because we all come from that same place. And there's a Lakota word for children in our language. We say Wakayasha. Waka means sacred. Wakayasha means the sacred ones, because of where they just came from not too long ago. They're born into this world innocent. They know how to love, how to live, how to accept others who are different than themselves. They never judge on the color of skin, how much money another person has. They just are kind, and they accept people. And so we learn from the Wakaisha because they remind us on how to live life. And so I want to ask if you can take this message about Midakuye Owase, take it home with you, share it with your friends, your family, your neighbors, your classmates, your coworkers, Because when we do that, we all do our part in making our world become a better place. We spread that goodness, and it starts from here, and it'll go out to different directions like a ripple effect. And so, I want to say thank you in our Lakota language, which means when we say palamaye, it means thank you for allowing us to share space with you today, allowing us to share with you about who we are as Lakota Dakota people, a little bit about our history and our culture. And one last thing, I do work as a school counselor, for 13 years, and over the years I've worked with many different students from kindergarten through seniors in high school as a school counselor. And one common question was always asked in my office. Didn't matter what culture they came from or how old they were. One common question was always asked as, Mrs. Rencountre, why do people do hurtful things in our world? Whether it was their classmate, friend, family member, or neighbor that had something going on. And so after one hard day of work, I went and prayed about it out in the Black Hills. And a night or two later, I was blessed with a dream. And in this dream, an old man came to me and shared with me a message and told me to tell not only just the kids I worked with, but as many kids as possible and people of all ages to remind them of this message. And so I took that message and I turned it into a book. And before it was published, I won a regional award for the story on it. And so I now have that with us today here for sale. If you would like to take one for $15, you can sign them as well too. But with that, we want to again say Kilamaye and Midakoye Owase. Thank you.